Yo, what up, Raider Nation? Welcome in to another episode of the Raider Ragu Show. So please get a like, share, comment, subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And also, please get it on auto download if you listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music or Apple Pods, I should say, or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you very much. Forget our sponsor, SheBangBoutique.com. Okay, so I hadn't hollered at y'all in a while since last week. So since then, we had old Kirk Cousins signed with the Raiders. And initially, there was this huge contract number or whatever, and people were like tripping off of that. Raiders are paying a guy, excuse me, $11.3 million for 2 years, the league minimum for the Raiders. This year, while Atlanta picks up the rest of that deal, they already picked it up. They cashed him out so he could roll. And Cousins is basically playing for the Raiders 2 years, 11.3 million, maybe 20 million if they re-sign him, which could happen. That could happen. So that's not a big number at all in the world of quarterbacks today. So, but let's talk about that though. So they signed Kurt. People are like, why? Is it a good signing? Is it a suspect signing? Is it a bad signing? Well, Kurt did get benched, right? Kurt was benched for Michael Penix Jr., who, by the way, hurt his knee, like they said in the draft, that, to be leery of his knees, his injured knees. And lo and behold, it did come true. But anyway, he had replaced Kirk. Atlanta had moved on from Kirk Cousins. $100+ million contract be damned, right? So you're like, man, that's a lot of money to pay a guy and then get off of a guy, right? Pause. So it reminds you of the Russell Wilson trade or release. They didn't trade him, they released him. Just like this. A little bit more bread, though. And they did it. And then Russ was never like that Russ that we had come to know, right? He was done. And basically, Kirk is done. He came in the league and that, the heavy build up in that year with RG3. And I know RG3 had a relatively short career because of injury. However, RG3 has been in the booth and, on Twitter saying bullshit for a long time now, like retired from football. So for this guy to still be playing, that's quite an accomplishment. And he's banked a lot of bread over the years, a lot of guaranteed money, excuse me, on various contracts that he had over the years here in the National Football League. And I mean, that's neither here nor there. Shout out to him and his agent. But I think Kirk Cousins is done. However, I do think this is a good signing because with the Raiders, it's like, here we go again, right? And when I say that, I'm not just talking about like the Isley Brothers song. Here we go again. Let me bust out on you. Anyway, um, but here we go again with the Raiders because everything's new, new staff, new philosophy, new terminology, new way of practicing. I would imagine the language different, different coaches, different expectations, different alignments, different assignments, different techniques. And for all of that to be new for everybody, I do think it's a good idea to have a quarterback who's familiar with the whole thing. So, a quarterback that is not new to. You understand what I'm saying? It's going to be new to everybody else on the team. Maybe some people that, you know, been in the system before here and there, maybe linemen or whatever. However, for the most part, all brand new. And then to introduce a rookie quarterback into that situation is less than ideal. Wouldn't you say? That's less than ideal. So, with everything being new, I feel like they brought in Cousins to kind of stabilize everything and make it not such a daunting task trying to install this offense and then let Fernando watch until he's comfortable and, put him in accordingly. I think it's going to be a good thing to not have him start off the season because everything is new to everybody. So you need, the quarterback to get people lined up and all of that. Once the season starts, man, adjustments has to be made. And a quarterback that has been through this system already, he knows that everything. You guys understand that. It's much more easier for Kubiak and Janoko. So I think it's a good signing. Although I do think Kurt definitely has seen his better days. Better days are behind him. And I would go a step further saying that he's done. He's like on his last legs. He got benched the last time he was playing. Can't forget that. That happened. So yeah, I was glad that they signed him. Everything's gonna be new, and he's a guy that's familiar with everything, and he's got something to prove too. So he'll be at his best, whatever that is. The next thing I want to talk about is we had the Raiders have Fernando Mendoza in for the top 30 visit to the Intermountain Health and Performance Center in Henderson, Nevada. So everybody was there in the building. Brady, Cousins even came. All everybody was there, players, and it's good to see. That was really cool. Fernando, like I said on the other video, they probably told him to go in there and pick his locker out. You know what I mean? Like, which one of the veterans, man, you want to be next to? We want you to be next to an offensive guy. So, here, what locker? Fernando probably picked up his locker while he was there. So, they had Nando in the building, which was very cool. Told him he'll be back here in a couple of weeks to really get started working. You understand?
Yeah. Ooh.
And Nando is excited. But, recently he mentioned that he will not be attending the draft. He won't be at the draft in Pittsburgh. He'll be at home with family. I believe initially he might have. I don't know. It wasn't too much criticism, but yeah, Fernando's not going to be there. They'll have the cameras on him. They'll let the Raiders call him up and show the whole thing on TV. It's a made for TV moment still, but he'll be at home with his family. That's all. I'm not mad at Fernando for doing that. You know, he's his own man. He is down to earth individual. Great for what the team he's going to, right, in Vegas, because you need a little degree of discipline. And I know that that is a concern that Spytech and his team have when, scouting potential players for the Las Vegas Raiders, because at the end of the day, they're playing in Las Vegas. You got people probably coming at them, ain't even got to get all into that, but it's in Vegas. So, got to have some discipline, among other things, as far as the betting and all that goes. There's other stuff, too. You just got to have discipline. You got the right guy, and I think Fernando's the right guy, right quarterback for Vegas. Much like DC was. Hopefully this guy's a little bit more than DC was and can, push us to that next level. Honestly, I think if DC would have had the proper coaching, he might have got us there. But that's neither here nor there, though. So yeah, shout out to young Nando, man. He won't be at the draft. He'll be sharing it with family back home. And, and yeah, that's that, man. We'll see in a couple of weeks who not the Lakers, the Raiders are gonna select number one, but everybody knows it's gonna be Fernando. Really, what we need to know is the other rounds, right? I believe. Okay, just this is still on the same thing with Fernando, but speaking on the draft, I think they should get Omar Cooper Jr. They may have to trade back into the first round to get that, and perhaps mix in some of next year's draft picks to get that done. Spy Tech, you need a receiver. You're getting Fernando Mendoza. I would think if you're a good GM, this would have been something that was already discussed already with Fernando. Like, do you want your guy? If he does, man, I say get him. Find a way. I did mock drafts where Omar Cooper Jr. went as high as 20th, maybe even 16th, if I'm not mistaken. So, there's a sweet spot in there where you can trade back into the first round with somebody, even if you got a mortgage next year a little bit to get this guy, right? Because you want to give your quarterback every opportunity to succeed and get his guy that he played college ball with, who he always had a connection with, got the back shoulder working already coming into the league. It's just got to be refined. I think it would be an awesome pick. And I think the Raiders should consider doing it. And I would think that they are. It's just maybe the price could get a little bit too high, and that I can understand too, Johnny. If the price gets a little too high for it, then no. But man, I'm all over it, man. I would say go for it, man. Bring the kid in. Bring your guy's guy in. All right. So that's that. Now, we talked about Cousins. We talked all about Nando and his teammates. Re-signings of Raider free agents. It's Ian Thomas at the tight end. So it sounds like the tight end room is again solidified, even with those practice squad guys. I believe they have a practice squad guy or two still. I believe Runyon and somebody else. name escapes me right now, but um, uh, we called him Albert O, I think, right? Albert O, the guy with the long last name, right? So he got a couple tight end room is solidified. Ian Thomas bringing him back, and the Snowman. Snowman plays defensive end. I guess he's gonna get at some 3-4 DN, hand in the ground DN. The big 6'7" Snowman. I like Snowman. Snowman is imposing to other teams. He's a big dude, and he's not a bad player either. Happy for Snowden getting re-signed. Looking forward to him to getting some snaps this season. Now, Raider Nation, let's cut the shenanigans. Okay, so that was that Snowden and Thomas. That's who was signed. Let's go on to cutting Let's go on to cutting the shenanigans. Cut the shenanigans about Dexter Lawrence from the New York Giants. Raiders will not be getting him. That's the type of pick that you get when you want to just get over the hump. And maybe last year you couldn't stop a run or two in the playoffs when it was needed against the eventual champion or something like that, and you need to buckle down and get your some blocking or whatever together. Whatever, we're not a. I mean, you need to be like, we're not a player away. We're not. The Raiders are not in the position to be signing big money to guys like Dexter Lawrence, even though he's a good player, right? They gotta draft and develop right now and develop their guys into Dexter Lawrence. They don't need to just grab Dexter Lawrence right now and do what? We're not ready as a unit that's talking about out here playing championship football. There's no need to go get a guy like that. Spend money on him. He wants big money. He wants $30+ million. I know I say money be down, but that doesn't even make sense. So, Raider fans, every time somebody becomes available, the Raiders fans are like, "Oh, let's get him." And it's uncanny. It never fails. You see it on X or Twitter. As soon as somebody doesn't get re-signed or something or any of that type of shit, oh, look, they put the eyeballs or something up there. So they want the Raiders to get everybody. And the Raiders aren't going to do that. They're done in free agency. I'm almost certain. If they snuck a corner in there, then I wouldn't be mad. But I just think they're done free agent wise, and they're going to focus in on the draft and the scouting department, who the scouting department has their eyes on. They got a lot of picks, right? Top 100, they got 136. So 136, 67. Yeah, my bad. 102, 117, 134. And looks like it's 175, 185. They got all these picks. So my bad. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see, which way they go, but they won't be signing Dexter Lawrence, and they re-sign their guys, the Snowman and Ian Thomas. Kirk is in the fold to kind of bridge the transformation, and Fernando came on the top 30 visit, and they told him where his locker was. Hey, I ain't gonna hold you, Raider Nation, so just win, baby, and peace.